So I'm the guy on the left, like obviously, right? But a lot of people, I mean, for me, when I'm doing interviews and when I'm listening to like people's stories, like I don't care that The Rock makes 50 million a year. I don't care where he is now. I want to know how he was when he got started. Like I'm more interested in the fact that he started at zero and moved his way up than I am the fact that he is up. Right. So I'm always more interested in that. And I really like communicating that as a storyline to people because if I can make it, I genuinely believe like most people can. Like if like everyone's like, "Oh, Jeff's so smart." No, I'm not. Okay, like the amount of mistakes I make on a daily basis are infinitesimally larger than the average human being, and I was literally the bottom. Like my GMAT was the bottom of my master's program. Like I supported I raised the bar. Right, like I'm not like intelligent. Like I've worked with some of the smartest people in the world that I've ever met at Intel and Ericsson. Like MBA, PhDs that have like double masters in physics and computer science. Like those are the smart people. I do have an advantage of like hysterically working hard. And I think that's been a good thing to harp about and communicate to people. So going back to my story, right? So started out at zero, just like everybody else. And before I started my agency, I worked at a company called Ericsson. And Ericsson used to own like the cell phone market and they got, smashed and all this stuff. And now they own all the cell phone towers. And it got poached to Ericsson from Intel. So I literally left Intel where I was doing Lean Six Sigma and operations, and I got poached to work for Ericsson, and I got fired 3 times in 9 months from the only real job I ever had. Like, like imagine you're like, oh, I've made it. Like I'm gonna be a 31-year-old MBA working all this fun stuff, meeting all these CEOs, and like every 90 days you're laid off. Like holy crap! Like the first time, it's such a stab to the gut. Like you think you're a forever company, 401ks. Second time, you're like, is this a bad? And third time, you're just laughing. Like Ericsson as a company fired like 5,000 people in less than a year from their Dallas headquarters, Texas. And in in a matter of months, I saw people that had built their hopes and dreams on a steady corporate paycheck and just watched them get shattered. And I realized then this like essence of stability is important, but it's probably not going to come from where most people think it's going to come from. Like the propensity of like, I'm going to stick with my job for like 30 years and get a turkey and a watch that our grandfathers grew up with, like as a percentage exists less and less and less in modern day age. So I got fired 3 times in 9 months, the only real job I ever had. At this point, they took the car, that was on a lease. They took the apartment, which was on a lease. Um, and the girlfriend moved. She's like, I'm leaving. And she moved halfway across the world. And I was like, well, I literally have nothing. And if you want to feel bottom, be 31 years old, moving back to your parents in their spare bedroom. Like it's the bottom, right? At this point, I had no idea what to do. And I go back to the only real skill set I had outside of corporating. And I started doing websites for my dad's friends. So I would literally text him saying, hey, I do websites now. Do you want one? That was my intro, right? Most people ignored me. One guy was like, yeah, sure, fine. Another guy, yeah, sure, fine. By the third or fourth time, I'm like, all right, I know the dance are going to negotiate and blah, blah, blah. But, when you get that first sale, it's so empowering. After the fourth or fifth one, I realized I can't sell another website to a guy that bought a website. Like it ain't going to happen. He's not like, hey, dude, I want another website. They're like, no, I've already got one. Thanks. Like you can't buy another carpet type of thing. You're not buying another car. You don't want another furniture. And those are bad examples, but you know what I mean, right? You're not going to buy another website. And I remember talking to them saying, all right, what do you want? And they go like, could you do our advertising for us? And I was like, here we go. So I did a couple like YouTube stuff, ads manager stuff. And at this point I was so browbeaten and I said, I got nothing to lose. So I went on Facebook and changed my job title to digital marketer. And that's where I got my brain broken and exposed to, like you mentioned, like the Dan Henrys and the Billie Jeans. And I was like, man, if this pizza boy can make it, I can make it. Right. Like I remember that webinar and I must have watched that webinar like 22 times. Each time signing up again, watching it again, middle of the night, 4 a.m., 6 a.m., middle of the day at Starbucks, thinking like, there's got to be something. And most of the time it was not believing it could be true.
Yeah.
Like it was either a reflection of my internal doubt or disbelief that something could happen that way. And I remember being in Starbucks on Bird Road and 117th Avenue next to my parents' house, pulling out my credit card going, this is it. Like, this is all I got. Right. and I paid for it. And you get into the course area, and immediately I felt this like sigh of relief, like, okay, I've made it. Felt like I got into Harvard. Okay, we can do it. I'm betting on myself. And there's a whole other line of thinking of like the reason why people don't enjoy betting on themselves is because they're so used to losing. They'd rather not bet on themselves. They want to bet on their brand or their product or their service, not internal, but external. That's a whole other topic. So I do the 997, I pay for it. And then the first thing that he has you do is a curious student, which is like a declaration to the world that you're doing Facebook ads. Do you remember that curious student, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I had so much anxiety about that damn thing. Like, what if I'm not good enough? What if it doesn't work? What if nobody responds? Like all these variables that didn't actually exist, but they exist in my head. So I do it, and 30 seconds in, it didn't work, and I freaked out and I locked the post. Like I hit it. I didn't delete. I hit it. I was like, oh my God, this isn't any good. Nobody responded, and I fucking hit it. Like, what type of like man child is like 30 seconds in, it's not working? Like, come on, really? Like, but that's where you are, like in the journey, right? So I posted it, and then I immediately went back into the course and spent 30 days watching everything, understanding everything, toying with everything, trying to develop a deep, meaningful understanding of how the darn thing works. I reposted it again 30 days later, and anybody here can go back on my personal profile and see where I was back then, 5-6 years ago. And then a couple people responded, and I was like, holy shit, this could work. And it broke my brain again. And I think, or people are starting out, you need to have those moments. Those like, I have self-doubt, but I've created experience that breaks my self-doubt. And then you can domino and step by step and lever from one experience to the next. So as far as your original question, like SaaS and entrepreneurism, I deeply believe that it's hard to build the stability required to achieve someone's goals on an unstable business. And having some type of recurring matters. Whether you're going to market with a 49 or a 97 or 497 or 99997, whatever it is, having that type of like automatic recurring is meaningful and calming and enables you to focus beyond like that Maslow hierarchy of just like at the bottom, right? You can focus on higher stuff. And most business owners that are somewhat worth their salt are like totally fine. I'm saying, all right, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Okay, fine, let's try it. But yeah, I started off at the Dan Henry space. And looking back, it's one of my most exciting and favorite formative experiences of like that self-doubt of like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't believe in me. I'm not sure. And then you do it. And then people like positively reinforce, like, yeah, I want you to do it. I want to buy your stuff. And I hope every single person experiences that. Like you have to have that self-doubt and then have people go like, yeah, man, you can do it. And so I think, I mean, hopefully people on this call, whether it's Nathan or Jerry or Maggie, like I hope they had those experiences too. And
Yeah.
we can talk about where I think it's going to go in the next 5 years. But the first 5 years of my agency journey were hallmarked on that specific 997 moment of betting on myself for the first time in my life. So
yeah. And you know what's crazy, Jeff? And I'm sure you think of this once in a while is the people that are brand new to digital marketing today, they're starting off in such an advantage from a tech standpoint, from a information standpoint, as well as experience standpoint from everybody and everything around them versus like back when we started. Like, I don't know about you, but I started in like 2013, 14 range, right?
Yep.
But back then I had to put together like rinky-dink setup of like 10
When you wrote it,
softwares that I don't even want to name.
your biggest supplier was Zapier. Yeah.
Right. And like, you know, it was a different environment. The sales game was different. The markets were different. Like even an industry like chiropractors and like dentists, like back then wasn't even that saturated, right? So
Correct.
like it was okay for us to just go right into any market because you don't have to worry about competition. You don't have to worry about offers. You don't have to, like, you could be a terrible economist as a marketer and not understand supply demand and still survive because there was just enough demand, no matter how bad your offers were, right?
Correct.
Today, that luxury doesn't exist. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you have such a huge advantage of creating a more competitive product, right?
I'll tell you that I remember shooting one of my first videos, and it was called the one zap to rule them all. Okay. It was the final zap. You never had to build another one ever again. The lead would come in It would be added to this, added to the sheet, added to Active Campaign, added to ClickSend that would fire another thing and another thing. Wait 3 days, wait 14 days. It was like the longest thing you've ever seen. Like you couldn't actually see it all. You had to zoom out. And looking back, I'm like, wow, man, like that really sucked. Today, you don't have to do any of that. But
Yeah.
it's crazy to see how everything has changed and moved forward and is building a better, more capable ecosystem for people who are not technically inclined, but instead for people who are customer inclined, who are client inclined. Like I personally enjoy being able to say, like, yeah, man, I got you. Give me 30 minutes. Versus, yeah, okay, let me talk to my tech team and we'll call you in 4.5 days.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like being this person. I really like being, like the plug, like, the guy that opens up and he's like, yo, I got you. Like, I want to be that guy. Like,
Yeah.
what do you need? Right. Like, I got this, I got that. I got the sneaky surveys, I got the welcome text, I got soap opera sequences. And my client relationships have become a lot more positive because I don't have to relate my client experiences to my technical proficiency, which I will never be good at. Okay. Like my technical proficiencies will always be generations behind. Like I can stare at ads manager going, where did the button go? What did they move again? Who moved my cheese? When did they change this?
Yeah, that
Right.
sounds just like me.
Yeah. It's very accurate.
So
Um,
on that note, Jeff, tell us about making the agency happier, making it healthier, more
yeah.
profitable. Like at the end of the day, not creating a job, but you actually creating a business that's fulfilling your desires, right? Like
Correct. Yeah.
how do you look at that? And what are these changes that you're thinking about and wanting to share today?
So I've never had this like that's a lie. For like maybe like a half second, I was like, $1 million a day, $1 million a month. Leonardo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street. You know when he says like, "I'm angry, I only made 50 million because it was 2 million shy of a million a week," or something like that, right? Like I've never felt that desire to do that ever. I had my goals, and my goals are like, you know what? Like I saw a real estate seminar once, and the guy does 1 million a year. I was like, that's it. That was solidified in my head. I want to do 1 million a year. Also, I don't want to be working like a slave, like in corporate headquarters for 16 hours a day and having to wear a suit and all that. And that was like another experience, right? And now I'm realizing actually, like, I'm going to be a pretty cool dude in like my late 30s, early 40s, driving a Ferrari and having a great time and not stressed out about stuff. So that, like, all that is like in the jumbo pot of like, hey, you need a business to support your life's goals and where you view yourself. It is a whole other category of changing your own perspective, of changing your own self-image and how you identify yourself, which is like psycho-cybernetics and Tony Robbins, stuff like that, like changing your self-image. My self-image is fine for the next 30 years. It's going to be fine. Okay. But I needed to find a business that would fit it and help me accomplish it, which wasn't the case with having the standard agency problems. And this is what we're talking about, happy and healthy knowledge. So like the standard agency problems of, here we go. We'll talk about this, right? So by the way, for everybody watching this, I'm trying to like make it scannable or like you can scrubbable, like you can just scroll through it and then see the slide and know what we're talking about. So like this is what we tried in the past. And this is going back to what you're talking about, like the 997s or $1,000 a month or something like that, right? The way it would stereotypically work was like you do a free trial for like 2 weeks or something like that, maybe preferably 2 or 3 days. They'd like it. They'd be happy with leads, call back the leads. And then, okay, let's keep it going. And now I got $1,000 client, again, default recurring. And you just have to keep the pipes open or keep the business running, not have to build everything again,
Yeah.
which was cool. But then your next problem is leads aren't converting. They're not calling people back. The leads aren't quality. Like you've given one set of problems up for another set of problems. And these problems will always beat out this problem, always. And if you don't solve the second problem, that's as far as you're going to go. It's like if you don't learn how to read a ninth grade reading level, you're never going to get past eighth grade. So that's what it felt like. Like, yeah, it worked. I got like the 48-hour free trials into $1,000 a month clients, but I would always lose them no matter what, because like I couldn't solve that second problem. And it was always the leads aren't good enough. Nobody's calling us back, no ROI, stuff like that. And I had to develop this like weird way of working involving sneaky surveys, welcome text, callback recording, soap opera sequences, stuff that was an industry standard, which is now industry standard. But it was always this problem of like, I'd send them 50 leads or send them 100 leads. Let's just say as an example, 10 would be great. They get to come in and make 3, 4, 5 times their money. But the client is looking at the other 90 going, obviously, I didn't want this. I didn't want to pay for it. So you could have had an amazing ROI, but that client experience was muddled by the non-responsive leads or the non-ideal clients. As a marketer, what do I care if there's 100 people on an email list? I send one email to buy $10,000 worth of stuff, positive ROI, right? But as a small business owner, if I've got 100 people to take care of tomorrow, I'm having a heart attack. I just want one or two or three good shots per week. I just want one or two, three good shots per day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a good shot of earning somebody's business. And that really drove me to make this change in my business right here, which was owning one big, all clients in one CRM, which is what we do inside of GHL. So for context, I do dentists. I advertise online to get online advertising clients, normal stuff. And when I'm on the phone with them, I go, no, we're going to do all the callbacks. We're going to do all the phone calls. We're going to do all the text messages. They go, oh, great. I go, we're going to deal with the bad leads. We're going to filter them out. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to have access and all the leads are going to go into our CRM. And immediately all the clients were like, they breathed a sigh of relief because they had been experiencing that old way of working, which is like the leads are going to go into your CRM and the staff is going to have to call them back. And they were like, oh my God, like I'm not going to do that. I'm going to mess it up. The front desk isn't trained, all this stuff. And there's no way to solve that, by the way. We introduced front desk trainings. We had introduced mandatory blah, blah, blahs. And we've done the sneaky surveys, welcome text call recordings, secret shoppers. But it was always a problem. And after a while, you tell me if I'm wrong here, like, and for everybody on the call, like after a while of like hitting your head up against a wall, you're like, I'm just going to go around the wall. Like I can't keep, like my skull isn't thick enough to break this wall. And that's what I felt like. So when I'm talking to clients, I go, look, I'm not giving you access to all the leads because most of them are bad. And they go, that's right. So now I'm not fighting them. I go, you're right. Most leads are bad. And most leads are not qualified. And they go, you're right. And I go, whether it's Facebook or Google, you're going to have to call these people back, which your front desk ain't going to do. So now instead of fighting them, I'm agreeing with them. This is the obstacle. The way we solve that is by having everything in one big CRM. It's up to me to do the filtering. It's up to me to do the blank. It's up to me to do the blank. And now, by the way, like I can have one or two or three operators handling 20, 30 different client accounts. It's all within the one CRM. It's every lead is client tagged according to the lead form or according to the landing page or whatever it is, the little survey. So it's tied to like the right landing page and the right account. But having one big CRM made everything easier. Now, all of a sudden, I'm agreeing with my clients. I'm like, yeah, 3 out of 10. That's it. 7 out of 10 are going to be horrible. 3 out of 10 are good. Are you going to go searching the needle in the haystack? No, that's what my team is doing. And now I can hire operators. I can create an SOP and immediately apply it to like 30 accounts. And so when I discover one thing with one dentist, I roll out the remaining 29 and everybody's happy. Like I'm sending them voice notes, like copying and pasting voice notes. Like, hey, we just discovered something cool. We're going to be implementing this into your operators and your CRM. They're like, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the heads up. All I did was like a 5-minute loop and I sent to the operators, right?
Nice.
So this is a distinct change to the older way of working, which is, hey, I'm just going to do the leads and shove them into your CRM and you do the follow-up.
So a few
Now
questions I have for you.
Yeah, of course. Ask away.
So a few questions. So you said you've tried the training module style where you're like essentially providing a bunch of videos, right? The other thing is you go with like training them in person, which is what I used to do in dental. Like I would literally fly in like a consultant, charge them $5,000.
Look at that.
And literally, yeah, exactly.
We used to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So then I was like, you know what? I'll have some kind of control, but I wasn't scaling myself. Like you could only travel so many times in a year and have a healthy life. So that was nearly impossible. Then I tried the call center route. The call center route, the only problem with that is call center is not necessarily dedicated to you. They're doing this for hundreds of clients plus 12 to 13 industries at the end of the day. That's the business they're in. They're not going to care as much. Not all of them. I don't want to mention that about everybody, but my experience at the time, it was like, hey, it's if they don't pick up 2 calls, that's the end of that, and there's nothing else, right? So how did you get to a point of figuring this out for your clients? Like how close did you work with these clients to get to this point? Because it's easy for us to just put up 5 slides and say, okay, all in one big CRM. There was years of and months of cracking the code of understanding what the customers actually wanted. Can you talk about that, Jeff?
So Christine Seal knows a bit about this because I was like pretty transparent. And for people who don't, my big challenge was trying to figure out something that could work. Like you get emotionally exhausted after like stuff don't work. It got to a point I said, you know, screw it, I'll just call the leads myself. I'll just call them myself. Okay. So I would call the leads pretending to work at my clients. It's like, hey, this is Jeff with Rodriguez Dental. How you doing, sir? Yeah, I think you filled out a form. Okay, great. Yeah, that's cool. Can I ask you a couple questions? So I'm literally doing the front desk job. All right. I'm calling them through GHL. The call is being recorded. We have text messages, all this stuff. And at the end of the qualification process, I would say, all right, I just want to summarize real fast. Your XYZ 1, 2, and 3, looking for blah, blah, blah. Got it. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this to my general manager. We have all the information. They're going to call you later today. You need to pick up the call because they're super packed. I mean, we've been like, the response from Philadelphia has been amazing. Yeah, you know it. So they're going to call you. I need you to pick up the phone. And when they call you, they're going to ask to schedule you time you're going to come in. And I want you to insist on the same day or next day. Don't get scheduled out 3 or 4 weeks because we're going to be out of supplies. They say, okay. So I would do all that and I would send it to the front desk or send it to the doctor. I'd go like, hey, there you go. Perfectly.
So it's like a transfer almost.
Correct. Like I would do all that and then I would screenshot it, download the call, and text it to him. Okay. I'd say, here you go. It got to a point where the doctor's like, all right, cool. You're better than my front desk. I don't want them to do it anymore. I want you to do it. I was like, oh, ho, ho. When someone says, I want you to do it, that's when your brain should be like, this is a good idea. And then the next client, I was like, all right, that's cool. Well, we haven't logged into the CRM in like a couple months. Can you do the rest of them? I was like, well, if I'm going to keep switching back and forth, screw it. So I just imported everybody into one CRM. And then all of a sudden I was like that light bulb moment where you're like, oh, I should be doing this the whole time. Just like that. So it wasn't like I'm super smart. It was really just like I kept failing until I figured it out. And in that specific experience, I was just calling back the leads out of desperation, like emotional exhaustion. And I was having the qualifying conversations through GHL, recorded line, text message back and forth, and I would just pass them along. That's what made me realize, oh, I should just have everybody in the CRM, everybody.
Yeah.
Then
so is it worth your time? Like, did you package it the way that it's worth your time to be doing all this for the customers where you're jumping into the sales cycle and just literally like kind of building their business for them?
This was, I categorize it as R&D. If I said it was any other bucket, the answer is no, but it's R&D. So yeah, it's totally worth it. We're figuring stuff out. I'm in the garage, I'm tinkering, ignore all the prototypes, right? It's fine. Like this is the one that works. So no, but when I call it R&D, all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense. So when I figured that out, I changed my client getting ad. I changed my client getting sales pitch. And I said, look, this is the price. I'm going to pop open the CRM. I'm going to play some calls. These are the type of quality calls that we're doing. We're training the team, and I push play and it's my voice. And the guy, the doctor at the time was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You're doing the calls. Like, yeah, me or a member of my staff. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And I said, look, half the time when I call these people, they don't pick up. So I know half the leads are bad. Other half the time, they're super disqualified. One half, somebody is serious. They're qualified. They've got desire and want to buy. And then we send it your way. And they're like, okay, that's cool. I'll buy that. And I was like, that's good stuff. And at this point, I didn't even give them access to the CRM. I just shoved everybody in the same CRM. And then I went and I hired an operator and I said, here's the CRM you've accessed. Here are the calls that I've done. Just do a lot of those. And then we had our operator. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Which ties into the second point right here, which is owning the qualification process. But I'm not going to skip ahead. Like we're going to make sure everybody like nails this and gets it. Mauricio, Darren, Chase, Melanie, like change number one was owning the big CRM. You can't do it for every client. Got a bucket. So like all my dentists are on one, all my medical research on another, all my blood centers another, that type of thing. But this has been the best thing ever. Like I just have to pop the hood and now it's my sales pitch. I'm going to push play. And then sometimes it's happening live. Like my operators are doing it. So they'll see them move and they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Pay me money. So it's a good time.
My gut tells me, Jeff, that your sales is probably less combative than the average agency because you're kind of on the same side as the practice or the customer themselves, right?
I don't have an hour and a half long sales pitch anymore. I don't have risk reversals. I don't have guarantees. My client getting ads have a price in them. When I'm on the phone, they're usually driving and I'm usually driving. And I open my laptop, open up QuickTime, click record, put my phone on speaker. And now we're like recording a call just like that. And it's usually me and the guy doing what I call a culture check or are you crazy check or do I like you check? Like we're not trying to see if we're qualified. We're not trying to see if I'm the expert. We're not trying to sniff each other out. They know what I'm getting. They know what I'm charging. It feels like they're buying from a catalog. They're like, yeah, I want that chair. And now you're talking to the salesperson like a checkout process. And it's it's helped me maintain a healthy relationship with the business that is much more steady so I can do, the more important stuff like living my life and not having like this as my base. So to answer your question is like it's a lot less combative. Like,
That's really interesting. So the qualification process, let's go into that.
yeah.
What is that?
So
How is that established? How do you create that balance? How do you find out about their procedures? Like
yeah.
what is the detail
So
of?
what I've done is I hate this term niche, right? It's not a niche. I prefer the term industry. There's a lot less weight to those words. So I picked an industry and then I picked a product in the industry that was probably like the most expensive one. Cuz it's one thing to be like, "Hey, we got a $50 teeth whitening." It's another thing to be like, "Hey, this person has no teeth and they got 50 G's ready to spend." It's the same amount of qualification time. It's just they wanted this one. I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to sell you what you want." Right? And I didn't know I wanted to do dentistry. I just kind of picked one and then I asked around and then I did a couple tests. And I was like, oh, this works. And if it didn't, I would have done something else. So like I'm not married to this process or anything like this. But what ended up happening is I'm having a qualification call with these end customers. So you got the client and the customer. And I'm having conversations with three big buckets: the desire that they want the thing, the capacity to pay for the thing, and the time that they want the thing. Those are three big buckets. Every qualification call falls into like sentences that support that, or sentences that make sure you want it, or those three buckets. It's desire, capacity to pay, and time. Like when they say, so do you have any big events coming up where we need to make a quick decision? It's time. So do you have a budget, or like have you been, it's capacity to pay, right? So it's desire, capacity to pay, time. And I figured that out after doing probably 12 or 13 or 14, 15 qualification calls, again, to the end customer. It's like, so tell me what's going on with your teeth. Okay, great. How long has that been a problem? Gotcha. And have you tried to do this in the past? What stopped you from going to your other dentist? Why did you opt in? And in the beginning, I had these very long winded 15-minute conversations. Now it's down to like 4 or 5 questions. And I only figured that over the course of time. But going back to the original call, which is like, I'm talking to this guy in Philadelphia. It's actually Jersey, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm asking buckets of questions based upon those things. And the first one was desire, which is like, hey, I hear you loud and clear, got your information, cool. So tell me what's happening, what's going on, why'd you sign up? And then he would talk for a little bit. I'd pepper in some like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. All right, so what do you mean? Is this like you had a thing or another thing? Oh, okay, so it was this, not that. Okay, gotcha. All right, go on. And then he would tell me that, yeah, I know the price because it was in the ad and I want it. And I have a desire for it. Like I need that transformation or something like that. Great, fine, perfect, cool. All right, let's talk about numbers real fast. You know, the price is in the ad, is that right? Okay, cool. Want to let you know that's an estimate. It's based upon everything that we know. And if you don't come in for an in-person appointment, I can't guarantee the doctor's gonna have to confirm a bunch of stuff. Is that okay? Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. All right. And are you looking to pay cash, financing, insurance? What do your finances look like? Oh, I've got money set aside. Okay, cool. Can I ask you how much you have money set aside so we can talk to financing partners? Again, this is after the 15th or 20th qualification call. I finally figured out the dance. In the beginning, it's going to suck. You'll figure it out. And then at the end, I say, okay, cool. How long you been looking for something like this? Oh, I've been looking for years. Why so long? Like, why haven't you done this before in the past? Well, I finally got the raise I was looking for, or we finally got the finances I was looking for. Okay, cool. So it's been 2.5 years. I'll bet you don't want to deal with this any longer. You're looking to move fast. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So assuming like you like the dentist and the price is right, how fast we thinking? Like tomorrow you want the procedure done? They're like, ha ha ha, no. I'm like, no, I'm being serious. Like, I'm gonna figure this out. If you're serious, I'm serious. Like, so when do you want your procedure done? Not when do you want to come in. I'm saying, when do you want your procedure done? And they're like, if I could have this thing done like next month, I'd be happy. All right, cool. To do that, we're gonna have to book you in for tomorrow, or the day after. Does that work for you? I don't know. It's like, look, we've been talking for 15 minutes. You've been waiting 2 years. Is this a scale 0 to 10? What are we talking here? All right, I'm a 9. All right, so let's book in for tomorrow. Okay, fine. So having that qualification conversation matters. I've done it so many times when I hire an operator to have those conversations, whether it's text or voice, it's a Google Doc. And then they just ask those questions. And it gets bulletproofed and we change it and we're always testing a thing. But being able to have that that on a recorded line or by text message, somebody saying, I know how much it costs. I want it. I've got my I've got my high school reunion in 6 months, and I need to do this because I just got paid and I'm looking to get this procedure done in 30 days or less. Being able to transfer that information to the end client makes that lead worth a lot more. It could be the same lead. Without the questions, they won't like it. The same lead with the question, like, this is the best lead in the world. It's the same person, right? So I have my operators asking these questions by text. We get them on the phone, confirm the information. Just want to double check you are interested. You're looking to pay cash. You got an 840 or you got a 740 credit score. You want this thing done in the next 30 days. Got it. We're going to bump you to straight to the top line and get the general manager on the phone. They can set you up for an in-person appointment. Can you please hold for 30 seconds? We call the general manager, treatment coordinator, doctor, whatever. Hey, I've got somebody on the line. I want to intro you. They're like, okay. Hey, Mrs. Johnson, this is Derek. Derek's general manager over at Miller Dental. Derek, I'm just going to summarize what I know about Mrs. Johnson real fast. Blah, 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 blah. Mrs. Johnson, is that correct? Okay, cool. Derek, make sure she's taken care of. She's as serious as going to get. Mrs. Johnson, pleasure talking. My name is Jeff. I'm going to send you a text message in like 30 minutes or so. Make sure you're taken care of. I'm going to exit the call. See you guys later. And now the end client has only experienced a qualified phone call. They have not experienced 92 text messages. They have not experienced 91 bad leads. They have not experienced 82 hangups. They have not experienced, you know what I mean? They haven't experienced all the bad stuff. All they got was a live transfer. Without regard to whether they buy, without regard to an ROI, it was literally like Amazon just delivered your stuff, which is what people want. They just get my stuff. And in the agency game, being able to own the qualification process means you're massaging lead the whole way through without relying on somebody else to do it. And if it was us and we messed up, cool. Nobody knows, man. Nobody knows how many qualification calls I messed up, right? Nobody knows how many times my operators sent the wrong text message to the wrong lead with the wrong name. They don't know that. My client only knows a live transfer and gets a receipt and a text message saying, hey, we just completed a live transfer, name, number, and email, credit score, 9 out of 10. They're going to bring somebody else, like all those questions. And it becomes a much easier selling process to the end client. And that's how we own the qualification process. And this, by the way, this also broke my brain. I was so used to having this combative example and relationship with the front desk. At no point did I think I should just own the front desk. And then when I did, it became own a call center, kind of like Ariel Cohen is talking about, like, what if we own a call center? I was like, I'm just going to hire the operators directly. Like, for $500 a month, you can get an amazing part-time stay-at-home, speaks 2 languages in a different country, perfect English, perfect internet, and just they'll log in every day and do everything for you. For $1,000 a month, you can get the best operator in the whole world. Contrast that to when we hired a call center, it was $2,500, and you would get an okay to medium person, full time, but not really. And then even then, you couldn't look at the calls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that type of stuff.
What is the third pillar of the change that you recommend that you're seeing? And I want to do a quick Q&A as well in a little bit here to kind of close out the call. But what I'm finding interesting is your process is a bit removed from the client and their world, where you have freedom, and at the same time they get the end result that they want at the end of the day without having to deal with the ugly side of marketing.
Correct. Like here's an Amazon example, right? When I order stuff from Amazon, I don't want to know, I don't want to tour, I don't want to hear the ifs, ands, or buts where the package went. I just want my stuff, right? You guys figure it out. You don't get to go ahead and pop open Amazon's hood and go, but where's my stuff? No, man, we shipped it to the wrong place. It's fine. The new one's coming tomorrow. Deal with it. Just wait, right? If the bag is, or if the box is broken everywhere, they just send you another one, okay? You're not having this like angry conversation about who broke what. We'll just send you another one, whatever. And so for me, I wanted Amazon 2-day shipping, which we got down to 30 minutes for like client build out and stuff like that. But I wanted that Amazon experience because nobody doesn't buy on Amazon. And all they do is send your stuff. They'll figure out the difference. So that's where I ended up realizing that's what my clients wanted too. And now it's like, hey, man, if you can pick up the phone and somebody's on the line that wants to buy your stuff, That's our deliverable. They go, really? I go, yeah, we don't do any front desk training. We don't do any sales training. We're not going to comment on your pricing. I'm not your consultant. All right. I haven't been in your shoes for 30 years like you have, Mr. Johnson. All right. I'm just the ads guy. My job is to make your phone ring. That's it, man. And all you got to do is pick up the phone and take it from there. And they're like, so there's no front desk training at all? None. In fact, if I was training your front desk, I would hate you and charge you more money. And he goes, oh. So everything is internal, which allows me to build up a pretty cool brand, by the way, because like we're advertising our DTC brand now. But having this type of just pick up the phone, dude, that's all you got to do. And if they mess that up, that's on them. I can set like the receipt will say, did they pick up the phone or not? We did a live transfer. We tried to call you. You didn't pick up. Here's the information. You call them back. Kind of like when Amazon delivers a thing, you weren't there to pick it up. We'll try again tomorrow. Just like that. Or go pick it up from the the UPS mail or whatever. So having this type of end result where the client just has to pick up the phone is pretty cool. Just like with Zoom, all you have to do is click start meeting. You don't get to pop open and have a conversation about packets and pixels and IT and how they run their AWS stuff. So why does my client think that they get to pop the hood on my leads? Like that, I know it's like a bit of a stretch, right? But having that type of approach of saying, if all I can do is have my client just pick up the phone and it's a near perfect lead, that's what I want. That's an easy yes. People will pay for that. So that's what we aimed for, and that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch because the demand is there and your supply and the offer makes sense, right? Otherwise, you won't be able to scale like you are. Let's what was there anything else you wanted to add on before we do a quick Q&A? Because I want to be able to make sure
There's small things here and there. Like I have found that advertising price points is great for sophisticated buyers that have a good business. And that's the type of people that I want to do business with. Like I will advertise my price points. We were advertising a $5,000 price point, still getting inquiries. Like, hey, we'll do all this for $5,000. All right, I'm interested.
You mean transparent pricing out there?
Correct. In the ad.
Got it.
Like,
got it. Yeah.
buy my stuff, right? We keep our advertising very tight. So no like advanced creatives, no like first 30 seconds. We're not doing hooks. And I found the people that respond to that tend to be like a whole class of individuals that don't work well with our way of working for 1.5 million reasons. Like everybody's so distracted. So this is what we do. This is how we do it. Versus like the biz oppie, like what if we added $1 billion to your bank account in 24 hours or refunded you $1.5 trillion in 36? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Like that type of stuff. And I know both work, but in my Jeffness and where I'm trying to build, this works a lot better. Now, by the way, we do it all in house. It's our Facebook page. We create the ad account on their behalf, put in their credit card. And it takes me 30 minutes. Literally just, hey, done. Here's your ad. It's live.
Nice.
That's it. We experimenting with AdWords and TikTok, and all we have to do is shove it into the CRM process. So like integrate inside GHL, leads go in, same qualification process. And what I found for us is doing too many mass reactivations is a good idea. So I used to rely on my clients saying like, we don't have money. I'm like, did you do a text message? No. How do I do it? Oh my God. So now I'm doing a reactivation on average once a day. So like leads that didn't respond to the previous message, leads that didn't respond to the day, testing out different stuff. I found that saying, hey, we've got 3 more appointments for Friday. Did you want to take one? Got great response. Another one saying, hey, I'm assuming you're not interested in dental implants. Got a great response. Lose ya with a question mark. Got a great response. The old boring ones of like, hey, we're just checking in. Are you still interested? No response. But like the ones with a little bit of like stabby personality, like those worked really, really well. So those are the other small things, but we can Q&A, whatever you want.
Nice. Jeff, I appreciate you sharing. And can you speak to the result of this model? Like, I know people don't know. There's a good amount of people that don't know much about you. They don't know what kind of success you've had. I know the success you've had. Can you just toot your own horn for a second?
Let's see. Landed clients ranging from the $500 a month all the way to $10,000 in person and online. And I built my career off in-person stuff. So I'd use this whiteboard of money and or death. And I was landing bike shops, car washes, like weird niches. People were seeing my ads saying, are you the guy from Facebook? You the guy from Instagram? You guy from the internet? Can you do our internet ads for us? I said, sure, come on in. I started selling the way my bosses at Intel and Ericsson sold. So I would sell that to a small business and sign them not for $1,000, but $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month. And they were super happy. It was the best program ever. Amazing, right? We built a Facebook group from 0 to 65,000 people, got a coaching program behind it, in-person events, spoke all over the world type of stuff. And so like, it's been an amazing, successful journey because the stuff changes. Like if everything was the same 5 years ago, you and I'd be pretty darn bored, right?
Yeah.
But now we get to explore deep, meaningful relationships. The tech stack changes to go like, oh, that's a cool thing. There's something different. All right, that could be an advantage. That could be a disadvantage. You want to keep that? Do I want to get rid of that? So the end result is like we've been doing a lot of cool stuff for a long time. And if anybody's got any questions, you can just follow me on Facebook and just go back 5 years and see what we've been doing since day one. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Let's do a quick Q&A. I know there was a few people that wanted to ask questions. Anybody want to jump on camera and ask questions? Use the reaction button and the emoji, the raise hand button, so I can just go in order. I'm going to first start off with some questions in the chat. Let's see. Is this being recorded? Yes. Let's see. Hey, Christine. Christine says the sneaky survey.
Yo, that was a hallmark moment. Like everybody's immediate response. Remember, I said like 8th grade, 9th grade reading. Everybody's always response in relation with the client was like the leads are bad, nobody bought, stuff like that. And I started doing these text messages like, "Hey, this is Jeff with blank car wash, just checking in. How's your experience? Did anybody
Yeah.
get in touch with you?" And it ended up being this like whole course of like clients are liars. Like, holy crap. Like I had my car wash guy who was at one point was spending $40,000 a month with me. It was one guy, right? We had all the locations. It was nuts. He was sending me a text message saying, "Hey, another guy is saying his marketing is not working." I go, "Which client?" He goes, "This one." I go, "Give me 30 seconds. I got you." Big old text message. And we get all these responses. People like, "Hey, I showed up and nobody was there. What are you talking about? I bought all this stuff. No, this is fine. Great, perfect. And then all of a sudden, he's telling his client, of course, the marketing is working. Here's proof. And the sneaky survey like really helped that. There's a whole conversation about Sharon, which we'll talk about later. But if you ever have a client that's like, "I'm not sure the marketing is working," just send that text message and it'll change really, really, really quickly.
Nice. How many accounts can an operator handle typically on average? What does your
So
fulfillment look like? Yeah.
yeah, that is a key question. I have found that with this setup, it's all one CRM, everything is standardized, it's run on Google Doc, Slack reporting, all that stuff, like basic setup. You can have one operator do between 10 and 15 accounts.
Okay.
If you're getting too many leads, you should increase the price in the ad, not necessarily decrease the budget. So that means, let's just say you're advertising a car for $20,000. You got all these inquiries, you're getting like 10 a day. It's 21,000 now. Turn off the old ad, delete it, replace it 21,000. Oh my God, but the algorithm is fine, man. It's local lead gen. There's no algorithm. Everybody just sees everything. Okay. And then your number of leads will change. And you keep playing with that until you get 2 or 3 or 4 leads a day. That's what we're looking for. And that means that a single operator only has to handle, let's just say 40 to 60 leads a day, which they can do en masse from one CRM. And all they have to do is respond, drag it to already responded. Somebody replies, it goes automatically responded to, do some automations. And all they have to do is look at one column. And they properly trained, not great, but good enough, can do 10 to 15 accounts. Let's just say you charge $1,000 a month. So one operator, $1,000 a month handles $15,000 a month of business. Like that's pretty cool.
Got it. And they're all people that you record in house. You're not outsourcing that whole process or anything like that. You're handling all of it.
We've tried and we've tested, and the challenge with like hiring a third party call center is you got to pay for their overhead and all that. It's just a lot easier to do a direct hire and have that internal relationship. And when we say in-house, it's a Slack. Like that's what in-house is, right? It's not like they're sitting right there. Like, no, it's a person sitting at their house, just texting all day long, watching Netflix. Fucking great. When they call somebody, they turn off Netflix, they call somebody. That's what they're doing. So that's in-house nowadays, right? So it doesn't have to be a big deal. And hiring an operator in-house is not hard. You can do like a placement company if you want, give them $500, $1,000, but it's just so much easier. So yeah.
Got it. James Hurst asked, why not keep them in your own sub account for each client? Why put them all into one big CRM? Unless what you mean is one parent CRM, but everybody is divided into different sub accounts.
Yeah, so like I bucket them into niches. So like my medical research client is in one sub account. I've got my blood center, they're in a separate sub account. All my dentists are in a separate sub account. So in the context of dentists, everyone's in a single sub account. Yeah. But we've got multiple niches, and it's very confusing for an operator to have to switch between medical research and blood center and dentistry all in the same conversation. So we separate them by niches for products. That's when we think about it.
So how would
But
they
yeah.
know like which lead goes to which location?
So you mean which client?
Yeah, I mean which
Yeah.
client?
So when the lead form comes in, you have an automation, client name tag, add a client name tag. So when they're having the conversations, they can go, Dr. M, that belongs to Dr. M. All right, cool. And then we got Alex with Dr. K. And it's just right there. So when they're on the phone, they can do a live transfer to the correct person. They'll know the phone number through like a Google Doc or something. And so in the beginning, communicating is like, oh, this is confusing. It's really not, because you're hiring somebody who's like smart. Like these are good people. You know what I mean? Like $1,000 a month in South America, Eastern Europe is a significant amount of money. And they're like, I don't want to mess this up. I'll figure it out. So the end result is you have your opportunities tab with like all these cards, but it have like Alex and a Dr. K, and it have like Jeff, Dr. Z, and everybody knows who the lead is assigned to. So that's how we set it up.
Got it. Very interesting.
Yep.
James Baskin says Jeff Bezos Miller.
What's up, Baskin? See ya in October, dude.
So Crystal Bella said, what was the text again? So I don't know when.
So the sneaky survey is, hey, this is Jeff with blank company. That's your client's name. Just checking in. How's your experience? Did anybody end up getting in touch? Some derivative of that. And it's gotten to a point like, I remember it was getting to a point like I knew when a client was going to complain. Like I could tell by their response rate. And so like the day before, I would do a sneaky survey, have all these screenshots and send it to them as proof either the campaign was working, proof people wanted to buy it, but they messed up, or proof people bought and everybody was happy, or some combination of that. But it was absolutely insane, like seeing the results of the sneaky survey. I would highly recommend every single person here do a sneaky survey today. Like, don't let your brain think about it. Just log in, do a mass text. I don't care what the pipeline stage is. Like, hey, just checking in. Anything I can do for you? Did Alex get in touch? Some derivative of that, and you'll get responses from people really, really quickly.
Nice. Awesome. Jeff, I appreciate your time, man. This is
Yeah, of course.
interesting. I think your model is proven to the point where at the end of the day, the clients are getting the ultimate prize of somebody that's literally about to walk into the front door, not somebody
Yeah.
who's just thinking about them, not somebody that's just searching mode. You're engaging with people that are absolutely in the active buying cycle, and I think that's
Yeah.
what makes the ultimate difference here. Darren says, how much do you charge for this service? Like, what does your packaging look like? Is there a
So
gateway
when
offer,
we,
core offer?
yeah, good point. So when we advertise, the plan and the goal of advertising get an ROI. That's very marketer talk, right? Which is different than the goals of a business, which is to have sustainable dollars coming in at a fair margin, right? The goal is get an ROI. I have found for me and my niche in my industry, 750 a month, we can turn around from cash from ad to sold and signed and paid in like 48 hours at 750 a month. That is for like my specific niche, my specific vertical, my specific product. If I was doing dental whitening, it'd be a whole different signature. It'd be a whole different conversation. So you have to figure out all that stuff. And the end result is you just kind of throw 5 different price points into a dynamic ad, and then you see what happens, that type of thing. I've advertised $5,000 a month and gotten responses to that. I've advertised 2,199 and it had no setup fee. We advertised that as well. But what we found is like the bigger the number, the longer the turnaround time, the longer from closed to sold or ad to sold. And that's where a business has significant frustrations. Like if you got 100 people and you got to follow up with them proposal, you're like, holy shit, like, come on, what the hell, right? Versus everybody signed and paid and you get to pump that money back into client getting and into your fulfillment. You could argue that you are taking a dollar hit, but you're getting an ROI really, really fast and you have clients and customers. So to answer your question, it's 750, but you got to figure out what works for your industry and the product that you're selling on their behalf,
Yeah.
and then aim for 48-hour turnaround.
Yeah, and a lot of medical, if you're in the medical space, and I was in the medical space, I had two agencies in medical. I can tell you one of the best, fastest, most, clever ways to get started is become a procedure specialist. So like
Yep.
just do cool sculpting and that's the only thing you do, right? Or just do
Rhinoplasty.
line or rhinoplasty or sleep apnea or TMJ therapy services if you're in mental health. Like just
Yep.
focus on becoming a specialist of a procedure that's preferably mid-ticket or higher that
Yep.
is going to help you start in an industry, not necessarily sustain forever, but at least
Yep.
start in an industry. And then from there you can expand.
Yeah.
Jeff, what would you recommend to anybody that's starting out? And how much do you do when it comes to SaaS? Like, is SaaS not even really a play for
I've
you?
never,
Which I understand if it's
yeah,
not.
I've never cracked the code on that. Like I've never figured out a way to advertise SaaS and get an ROI. I
Right.
think that's because of the product and the industry that I'm advertising to.
Sure.
Like my dentists aren't going, "Hey, I want to sign up for another thing." My dentists are going, "I want to sign up for someone who's going to do this work for me." That's just their relationship. And I was like,
Yeah.
"All right, fine." So I tried doing that, didn't get the bang for buck that I expected. But again, that'll change depending upon your product and your service.
Right.
I know a couple of people that are doing heavy machinery. That is hilariously effective. Like I had no idea some of these contracts are like, it's 50,000 a month to rent out the bulldozer. And they saw an ad and they made a purchasing decision and the ad cost $1 worth of ad spend. They bought 50. I was like, oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
I'm seeing leaf gutters. Everyone will see this now. Leaf gutters become a huge thing. Like there's a guy, this is not true, but in my head, it's like a guy that was like, home advisors doing it for this, for all the niches. I'm going to focus on leaf gutters. So he started a whole thing. And I know this because I'm advertising. And the guy
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, I saw your ad. I'm not a dentist, but I do leaf gutters. Let's talk." And he's telling me everything. And they're just flipping leads for like $500 a pop. And they're
Yeah.
converting. I was like, damn, leaf gutters. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is about nailing the product.
Yeah, definitely. There's some interesting niches out there that people don't touch. Funeral homes is a big one that's coming
Yep.
up. After what is it called? Afterlife services. There's a lot in the mental health space. So like
Yep.
what is it called? Not TMJ services, but it's electromagnetic waves that they shoot into
Yep.
your cells so it helps you fight like depression, anxiety, all kinds of stuff, and huge results.
They're doing psychedelics now. Like mushrooms and what's a horse tranquilizer drug that everybody takes at clubs? They're doing that is now like legalized, going through FDA stuff. And
Mm,
there's like 50 clinics in Florida now,
yeah,
and all they're doing is advertising like it's no one's business, like
yeah,
trying to like claim market share. I'm like, that's a perfect advertiser arena.
yeah.
Like, yeah, this is working, it's growth. Let's just put more money into ads. And there's not a single person there doing that. And I forget the name of it. I don't know. Facebook will
Yeah,
find it, right? So
yeah.
it's
There's
like I
definitely some
found that,
upcoming spaces. There's definitely
yeah,
some upcoming spaces that are interesting that nobody's ever touched.
yeah.
Um, but Jeff, I appreciate you jumping in, man. We're gonna see you in
Yeah, of course.
October, right?
Yeah, I got to figure out times and dates and all that, but I'm game.
Okay, cool. If you don't know, guys, High Level's running our own first ever conference, October 27th, I believe, through the 29th,
Nice.
Monday through that Thursday. So if you haven't grabbed tickets, grab your tickets. Jeff Miller's going to be a speaker with us as well. So I'm excited to
I
tune
am. Oh
in.
yeah, I am. Okay, I am.
That's what I was asking you.
Okay, I'm speaking. What
We
am I
sent
speaking
you
about?
we spent you I think we sent I don't know if you're a speaker or moderator. Now I got to be careful of what I say, but we sent you a contract to get that signed. So look at your email when you get a chance,
Yo,
Jeff.
so glad we did this interview. Surprise.
I think we're waiting on you to respond to it. So
That's so funny. Okay, resend it. That's
okay,
hilarious.
we'll do. Have a good rest of your afternoon, everybody. Take care.